Back on February 28th, at the end of our Zoom prayer meeting, Malcolm asked if anybody in the group needed healing. I immediately thought, yes, I do, but then I hesitated to share. After a couple people in the group did share and received healing, I spoke up and said, you know what, I do need healing, and then I shared my story. What I shared was that back in September of 2020, after a long kind of drawn out battle with doctors and figuring out what's going on with my body, I started to lose weight. I went from 272 pounds to 242 pounds. What the doctors explained was that for my whole life, when I struggled with weight, was caused by hypothyroidism. But from January to that moment in February 28th, I was stuck at 242. Nothing had changed. And so what I explained to the group was that it felt like doctors had carried me to a certain point and they couldn't carry me any longer. And that there's something that was wrong with my body that I needed healing for. And right after I finished explaining that, the Zoom ended and we went back to the large group. And I thought to myself, okay, well, whatever. At least I shared what I was feeling, what I hesitated to share earlier. But Malcolm didn't let it go. He went ahead and prayed anyway. But before he did, he looked at me and he said, Reggie, do you have faith? And it was a fair question. And the reason why I hesitated wasn't because I didn't have faith. It was because I didn't think my problem or what I was feeling was important enough to bring up. But I said, yes, I do have faith. And so he prayed. And I actually felt like something changed inside of me at that moment. In fact, that night I thought for sure I was going to wake up and be at the weight I'm supposed to be. Like, this miracle was going to happen overnight. I was so excited I couldn't even sleep. But as the week went on and the days went by, nothing actually changed. The next Sunday night was Rue and watched the service and enjoyed and worshiped together and still had this great hope that something would happen, but nothing actually did happen. And so Monday morning, I woke up, weighed myself, and I was still the same weight. So I was actually discouraged at this point. And then I heard the Spirit speak to me, and He said, this kind by prayer and by fasting. Because that was odd. I thought, what do you mean? I thought I had this healing. And He said, just trust me. And I said, well, how long do I need to fast? And He said 7 days. I think 7 days with no food, or like a Daniel fast, or like vegetables only, that kind of thing, because I've done that before. It's like no food, 7 days. I was like, all right, so I'm going to be obedient. And so I started a fast that day, and I was going to commit to it for 7 days. And I decided to meditate throughout those 7 days on Isaiah chapter 58, starting in verse 6, where the Lord speaks to the people of Israel and explains to them the purpose of a fast, and that is to break the chains of wickedness and to undo the yokes, right? And to set the oppressed free and to tear off every yoke. And He goes on to explain and to share your bread with the homeless and those kinds of things. But I was focusing on those verses, that verse 6 about, undoing the chains of wickedness and taking off the yokes. It's like, well, Lord, what is the yoke? What is the chain of wickedness? And so the Spirit started to bring back all these memories that were long lost. These memories going back to when I first started to put on the weight, going back to second grade, when I would defend myself in school, when I would get picked on, for being a big kid. And I would defend myself by cussing at kids. Using the F word and the A word and the S word. And I thought I was like big and strong and tough, right? Using those words as a second grader, however old you are at that age. And I realized that from that point on, my whole life, I carried this burden, this yoke with me, always thinking about how people would look at me and be criticizing me or making fun of me. And it wasn't always crazy because it happened. Even family members would say things under their breath, or directly to me about my weight and make comments and remarks. And so that was always a burden that I carried with me. In fact, I would even sometimes refuse to go places because I would think about what I was going to wear or what I couldn't wear, what I would look like, and what people would think about when they see me. And that would be enough to tell my wife or my daughter, like, no, I don't want to go out. I don't want to do anything. And I would tie myself to being at home. That was the burden. That was a yoke that was tied to my neck that I was dragging along with me. And so as I fasted and as I prayed, God revealed that He wanted to cut me free of this burden, to cut me free of that yoke, one that I've been carrying for about 30 years or so. And so He did. And you know, it's amazing because I never knew that when I asked for healing that day, that this is what He would heal me of. And yeah, you know what? I started to lose weight. I lost like 14 pounds since then. And it's been amazing. But the real healing has been the release of that burden, of that yoke. I'm free. And I was telling the story to my daughter, and she asked me about those times back in grade school. And she's only 5 years old, and she said, why didn't you tell someone that these kids were making fun of you? And I said, oh, I didn't think anybody would do anything, I guess. And I made the connection to the day when Malcolm asked, you know, if anybody needed healing, and how I hesitated. And I said, wow, it's the same thing. I didn't think I was important enough to speak up. You know what? This is my testimony. This is my witness. A lot of us go through things that hurt and are painful. Even we would use the word atrocities to describe those things that we go through. In clinicians' terms, we'd use the word trauma. You know what trauma does? It takes away our voice. It takes away our ability to speak. And when I was a child, and those things were said to me, I thought I had power in those cuss words. But really what it did was it took away my ability to speak what was most important. That was to the pain that I was feeling. And so then for the next 30 years or so, I never spoke to the pain. I never told people, hey, you know, when you say those things about my weight or you make those comments, like, that hurts me. And instead, I just carried those burdens with me and I dragged them along with me for so long. Until finally one day I spoke up. And the saints, God's saints, they prayed for me. And I received healing. And that is my testimony. That is my witness. It is my encouragement to you watching this. That you too can be set free. That you too can speak. I've noticed, and I'm sure others have as well, how many people get on those Zoom calls and we're praying together. And I know that some of you are at work or you're busy, you can't unmute yourself, you can't show your video. I get that. But there are also some of you who are hiding. You're hiding because of whatever it might be. You don't want to be seen. You don't want to be heard. And I want to encourage you, and I want to testify to the power that lies in the reality of our God, and the fact that He wants to set you free. He wants to heal you, and sometimes all it takes is just one word to be spoken. Just click, turn on that video, start audio, and just speak. This is my testimony. This is my witness. You are worth being heard. You are worth being seen. You are worth being prayed for. Why? Because you are his beloved. You are his one and only. You are his child. You are his son. You are his daughter.